live here at the UHD iRadio studio. My name's Giselle. I'm a senior with iRadio, and I'm here with two people who work with the mayor's office. We have Mr. Bill.
Howdy, I'm Bill Kelly. I'm the Director of Government Relations for Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner. I think we've got our City of Houston page going there with it as well. So introduce my colleague Desmond Taylor.
I'm Desmond Taylor, and Senior Communications and Policy Specialist with the Government Relations Office.
Right, and we also have the Professor Logan.
Yeah, Dr. Lucas Logan. I'm the faculty advisor for UHD iRadio.
Awesome, and I'm Michelle Duval. I'm the station manager here, and I'm also the social media manager for Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Okay, and today we're going to go ahead and dive into topics about early voting, some questions about y'all's career, and what to expect on the ballot. So I'll go ahead and start with the first question. First question I have is, what is the Mayor's Early Voting Challenge, and can y'all tell us a bit about how that got started?
Well, it actually got started in 2020 as a project that Desmond, who was not working in government relations, but we roped him into it to be able to help. 2020 was the first general election that they actually put early voting sites at some of our college campuses. It is crazy to think that we have had early voting in the state of Texas since the 90s, but they have, in Harris County, they didn't put early vote sites at college campuses until 2020. So it is remarkable. And in 2020, they had early vote sites at the University of Houston, at Rice, and at Texas Southern. And so the mayor, wanting to be able to say, like, this is a great opportunity, we really want to get students engaged, created the Mayor's Early Vote Challenge to really put a sense of competition between the campuses, to have students, faculty, supporters, everybody come vote early at those campuses, and to see which campus could turn out the most voters with it. So that's how it started in 2020. This year, University of Houston Downtown has an early vote location. So y'all are our new contestant into the Mayor's Early Vote Challenge. They actually have one, the Rice one was moved to the Texas Medical Center. So it's still close enough, but not quite on campus. So this year, we've got Gators, UHD, we've got the Cougars from U of H, and the Tigers from Texas Southern as the three participants in our Mayor's Early Vote Challenge. And I gotta say, UHD is 32 votes away from the lead. So everybody that's listening right now, voting here at UHD, you're only 32 votes behind University of Houston as of end of day yesterday on it. So it's a very, very tight deal.
Yeah, no, I think Bill summed it all up, and I think what's most important about this is the access that a early voting site being on your campus has for you as a young person to participate, not just the students, but as well as the faculty, and as Bill alluded to, the community members around the area. So we really hope people take advantage of this opportunity of coming to your campus where you're already here and just cast that ballot.
And how did y'all happen to what system keeps track of like the score? How are y'all able to know how the early voting count works?
So I don't want to say Twitter, but it, actually our Harris County Elections Division, who is on Twitter, puts out a count after the polls close, and it's really great too. Not to like age myself, but the polls are open, very simple, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Mm-hmm. Only exception is Sunday, where it goes 12 to 7, right? Back in my day, prior to 2018, first week of early vote, the polls would open at 8:30 and close at 4.
Oh.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
Right? And so when county leadership changed and a different priority was put on voter access with it, now they go 7 a.m., 7 p.m. with it. So
now people have time after work. That's the first thing that came
to get there. Because one of the worst things that you can have is somebody show up to a polling location that's closed, you know, and it just doesn't do well. So long story about saying every day at 7 o'clock, our Harris County elections officials will tweet out a link that will show all of the early vote sites throughout Harris County. And so what I do is to check when they tweet to go, and then I'll email my colleagues at the City of Houston to update our Mayor's Early Vote Challenge graphics with the latest numbers on that. So so that's how we get that information, and we're able to track it. So what I encourage, and you know, you may have some alums that are very loyal to your school.
Very loyal.
They want to show no matter what your party politics are, you come back to your campus and you vote, you're helping your school in the Early Vote Challenge with it. So that's how we get the numbers from it.
And another question I have is, how has this challenge impacted early voting turnout and engagement?
Sure. In 2020, I mean, that's what we can speak on, right? In 2020, we had the most voter turnout from individuals ages 18 to 35 in Harris County's history. And I don't want to say it's 100% because of the challenge, but I do believe because we were at Texas Southern, because we were at Rice, because we were at University of Houston main campus, that allowed students to have access to the campus and not have to go far or get in a car or catch the bus or the train. And so having that on-site, on-campus polling poll really helped push up the numbers for voters ages 18 to 35. And we're hoping to break that record in 2022.
All right.
So was this being like an initiative from the mayor's office to like grow this to UHD? Was that just something that was in the works, in the plans? It was. I mean, and I say this, we're sitting in a studio, a very nice studio that was built in 2020, very much on pandemic money. And so was this like an impetus that had things to do with that?
So I'll say this: we're very kind of good on being able to partner with our different level of government. As far as the voting locations go, that's Harris County,
Okay.
And so they're the ones that make those determinations and have made those changes that we've seen on locations and expanding access. What we try and do with the city is to be able to say, when the mayor makes a statement, the microphones run to him, right? We've got cameras, we've got outstanding press people that assist on being able to help coordinate that. We really want to try and draw attention to the access that's here now. And so that's the whole goal of the mayor's early vote challenge, is to be able to draw that attention so that people know about the access and know that it hadn't always been there. And when people realize, like, wow, this is, something that's quite literally at our doorstep as from where we're sitting on there, I hope people will realize this is something that we need to use, because if we don't use it, we might lose it. So really being able to just get the publicity out about the access is a big deal for Mayor Turner.
And I want to add just to that, I think it's also the spirit of your campus. Like, we don't ever know what we expect on the campus, right? So when we came to U of H downtown, we didn't know what to expect, but we walk out and there's, booths and there's students and there's student leaders, deans of colleges. And so you have this kind of spirit about your campus. In 2020, we went to Texas Southern and the Ocean of Soul Band, they performed all the way to the polls. I mean, so every campus kind of adds their own culture, but that's what makes it more exciting, I think, for the students and the faculty.
Absolutely. And as we're talking about that, the Gators are walking past us right now, all walking to early vote right now, dancing down the hallways.
So the next question I have is about the winning campus, and not to say who's going to be the winner, but what's going to happen with the campus that wins? What prize receive, or what happens?
So last year, out of U of H, Rice, and TSU, we had Rice had the most early vote numbers, and so on election day, the mayor came down and presented them with the first ever Mayor's Early Vote Challenge Award, and so was able to greet students and do everything. We also had representatives from the other campuses that didn't win to be there to say thank you for participating and everything. But you guys want the mayor on your campus holding a trophy for you. We got to turn out here, but UHD is doing really well so far with it. So that's the prize with it, and hopefully with the mayor coming, you'll get a lot of those microphones and cameras. So a lot of the community publicity that day too.
Yeah, and it's also good to note that this year we'll be doing a TikTok at the end for participants, everybody involved, just for, encouraging early voting on your campuses. So everybody will be featured on the City of Houston's TikTok as well.
Great. And one thing I just want to say as a UHD student is that the idea of early voting being this challenge, it's something that's competitive, but it's still it's collaborative too. So campuses are working together, but then we're also working against each other, and it's all in good fun.
Mm-hmm.
So so early voting aside, the next questions I have is just career related for our listeners out there that are interested and aspiring to be communications majors or working hopefully in the mayor's office. What would you say is the most exciting aspect of your job working in the mayor's office?
So I'll definitely say the opportunity and support that I get in the mayor's office, as Bill alluded to earlier. I started off as Mayor Turner's scheduler, and I did that for 3 years. And I have a degree in legal communication and political science. And so I knew I just needed a shoe in the door.
Right.
And as I worked, I came across Bill, and our actual first opportunity to work together was for the mayor's early vote challenge in 2020. And after that concluded, an opportunity opened up in his office of government relations, which is aligned in what I studied in college. And so we talked, and then I interviewed and was selected for that opportunity. So I would definitely say just the kind of support system that exists at the City of Houston has been very helpful for me.
Well, for me, myself, I started off as an intern. There was a thing going on here at UHD where they were taking UHD students and getting them spots. Originally, I started at Houston Public Works. I was just doing the TikToks on that side, and so I collabed with the person who had my position now. Her name was Javelle. She was my predecessor, and she was leaving, and she gave me a call, and she was like, hey, there's a position open, and people are really interested in the work that you're doing. And so I transferred over to the mayor's team, and it's been really fun. And I will say the things that you learn here at iRadio, the things you learn from your professors, I've definitely used it in my current position as well. Connections and networking is really big, and that's one thing that I feel like sometimes people miss and going to college because they're so interested on, we got to get the A's, but you got to also know the people. So that's really important.
I'll say this, I actually worked against Mayor Turner way back in the day. I worked for a guy named Bill White in 2003, and then worked a little bit for his administration, but came back right before I worked with Mayor Turner. I worked for a group called Mental Health America of Greater Houston. And they do education and advocacy with regards to a full spectrum of behavioral health issues. And I really got to know and work closely with then State Representative Turner. And he was amazing for us. He's the reason we didn't have a wait list after the 2015 session, because he fought for that $8 million to be able to come in to fund our Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD. And when I supported him during his election, and he literally said, Bill, mental health is so important to me. I want you to come and be our director of government relations. And normally you would get a high-powered lobbyist or somebody that fundraised a lot of money. That's not me. I come at it from the health services side of it. So to me, it meant a lot that he would ask me to do that, and had been very honored to come and work on behalf of the City of Houston for the mayor's office, doing government relations, always promoting more access and putting behavioral health at the front of a lot of our list with it. So,
all right. So we've got behavioral health, a little something legal related, as well as we've got an alumna, right? So it's and all these different paths that led to the mayor's office. And so the next question I have was, what advice do you have for students wanting to be either communication majors or if they were looking to work in the mayor's office? What advice would you?
I would definitely say one of the biggest programs that Mayor Turner has been pushing through his administration is the Higher Houston Youth Program. It's for students ages 16 to 24. So for any college student that's within that age group, along with the different opportunities that Michelle talked about with U of H downtown, I think there's a similar partnership with University of Houston main campus. So just looking for those opportunities, right? And a lot of times it's once you get your foot in the door, many more doors will start to open. But you just kind of have to put yourself out there. It's okay to be vulnerable, especially when you're looking for an opportunity, because that literally can be the door, the gate to your career.
Absolutely. I would say be active on campus. Last year I was the SGA president, and being active in that role, I was able to work with different organizations at UHD. And when I transferred into the mayor's office, that's really what I do. I work with different people on social media campaigns and stuff like that, but I got the practice here. Even being part of iRadio, I learned how to talk. I learned how to, do things like that. So I think being active on campus and not just coming here, doing the work, and then going home, but stay here, get to know people, because you're going to use those skills when you transfer into your career life.
And I would say, I know Desmond alluded to it, we try and make a big emphasis, not in spirit, but in practicality for the mayor on everything from our Mayor's Youth Council that orients leaders a lot. And that's more high school oriented, to be fair with it. But our Higher Houston Youth Initiative, to where we have a number of internships directly from the city of Houston is exactly those opportunities that you guys just mentioned and talked about. But the other thing I would say is to, whether you are 18 and broke or you are a billionaire at 65, everybody just gets to cast one vote.
Right.
And so being involved in campaigns on issues that you're passionate about, one of the things I just want to make sure to give a shout out, so I'm doing my job on it. We have a City of Houston bond issue that's at the very bottom of this ballot. So,
right.
and again, very nonpartisan with it, but if you care about, let's say, like welfare of animals, right? There is a $47 million proposition about our animal care that we definitely need a new facility. If that's something that you care about, that's literally on the ballot. Somebody said, oh, we elect everybody because we do have one of the longest ballots in the nation. We elect everybody but dog catcher. Well, literally, the dog catcher still is on the deal. We want to make sure and have a very good system to help what we've got. But really getting involved. I worked a campaign back in 2004 for a guy named Representative Hubert Bowe. And not to spoil the ending of it, but he won, and he won by 17 votes.
Wow.
17 votes out of over 40,000 cast. So again, there's a lot of power for individual empowerment if people just take advantage of it. So, and I'm glad this mayor's early vote deal kind of directly feeds into that.
Right, and since you brought up the bond election, anybody who's listening, if you want more information on that, follow us on Twitter, City of Houston. There's a post that is made that has a link that will take you to all the information you need on everything that will be on your ballot.
So the last question I have related to this, and I think this was one of the most important, is what would you say to a young voter who feels like their vote doesn't matter and they see no purpose in voting? What would you say to them?
I would definitely say this. If it did not matter, there would not be so many suppression opportunities or so many suppressive bills and legislation to stop you from having access to vote. I mean, literally the reason, as the professor asked earlier, although the city doesn't have direct control of the election, we do all that we can through innovative programs like the Mayor's Early Vote Challenge to give people access to, if the voting poll is on your campus, we want to do all we can to make sure that we're helping you get to that poll, cast that ballot. And so you just have to remember, people are working to go against what you want to do. So just be focused on the issues that matter to you. As Bill said, BARC is on the line. Libraries, solid waste issues, potholes, whatever things that you see every day is on this ballot. So it does matter. So it's very important that you cast that ballot.
I want to just totally echo the sentiments that Desmond put out there on it. Texas is there are 42 states where you can register to vote online. We're not one of them. We literally have to fill out a voter registration card. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of people that are automatically registered when you go to do your driver's license. Texas actually became compliant with what's called the motor voter law, and this is pretty funny. This was the first law that a guy named Bill Clinton passed in '93. Texas came into compliance for it last year.
Wow.
That it's really amazing when you talk about voter suppression efforts that they've done. In Harris County last time during our pandemic, I thought they came up with a great program on drive-through voting, right? Now, I don't know about you, but I've been to a drive-through bank. I've been to a drive-through pharmacy, and I way too much go and get drive-through food. Right? Okay. Now, if you can get your food, money, and medicine through a drive-through, why the heck shouldn't you go to be able to vote when you're presenting the same identification that you've got to them? It is simply, and there has been no voter security argument on there, something that the state legislature decided to vote down. And to Desmond's point, if more access gets this kind of opposition, that should tell you the power of the individual that they really have. You can really make a difference with it. So I would just put that out there, and it really makes me proud to work for an elected official like Mayor Turner, who allows us the opportunity to be able to do this and says, yes, I will do the Mayor's Early Vote Challenge. Let's get out on these campuses and help raise awareness.
Definitely. Well, I'll say, just to make it very simple, we're 32 votes away from being first place. So if that doesn't tell you that your vote matters, I don't know what will. But I will say everything that they said, I definitely agree with. It does matter. It's really important, and so just do it. It doesn't hurt you. You get to put your opinion and use your voice when you go and fill out that voter ballot.
And I do want to give a special shout out to somebody that we've worked with very closely, our friends at the League of Women Voters. They do an exceptional job putting together their list. Dr. Annie, who's their president, We actually had a situation where we worked with them where they do a tremendous amount of voter registration at citizenship ceremonies, right? Which is, I think, the most American thing, right? So go through the process, you get sworn in citizens, the League of Women Voters is right there. You can't vote online. So we have that card, right, to be able to register someone to vote. They called us because they do about 3,000 folks a month. And when they asked the Secretary of State for their monthly allotment, they said, the Secretary of State said, we have a paper shortage. That's what they told them, and said, we can only give you 50. Well, Mayor Turner got on the phone with his microphone, and guess what? We solved the state's paper shortage by just putting a little sunlight on it. Right? All of a sudden, they had what they needed. And I say that to simply say the Houston League of Women Voters does a fantastic job, not only of providing the issues where people can read about the candidate responses to their questions, but they really fight to make sure that people have that access to being registered, including, a group that we should all get behind, our new American citizens that get sworn in with it. I just really wanted to give them a quick shout out on it, as they're doing a lot of that hard work.
And echoing it, they have an excellent voter's guide.
They do.
They do the research and everything. I just recommended it to another UHG student yesterday because it's bipartisan. It just gives you the straight facts, the straight facts. And going into that and talking about the ballot, as students do their homework as they should before heading out to vote, how would you explain what is on the ballot and what we have to expect?
I would say this midterm elections, and I fully can defer here to our academician on it. Midterm elections tend to be very state focused, right? We don't have a U.S. Senate race because they're staggered. They just go, they're 6-year terms with it. So the only federal office that's on the ballot this time is your local member of Congress. And frankly, there aren't that many competitive races for Congress in our area. I don't think anybody would necessarily argue with that, but there are some very competitive statewide races. And that state policy really, as Desmond and I can attest to working in the government relations office, that's a big deal for us. And so things like state policy, when we talked about, Congress allocated the state of Texas $4.3 billion in mitigation funding to help rebuild after Harvey. The city of Houston has seen $0 from that $4.3 billion. That flowed through the state. So, and I know a number of Republicans and Democrats that were very upset with the way that was handled. Those issues, come under the General Land Office, which is about the 5th or 6th office that'll be on their ballot. So it matters. It matters. It's not just your congressional member, it's your governor, it's your lieutenant governor, it's your state rep, your state senator, the General Land Office commissioner. It really does matter. So my advice on the ballot would be to use those good resources like the League of Women Voters and think about the things that affect your life with it. I mean, we're at UH downtown. Every time that I come to UH downtown, I'm always kicking myself that I didn't ride the train because it is just so easy, and I end up looking for parking. I should have just ridden the train. A number of issues that your audience on being younger, particularly when you talk about women and what's our Supreme Court has decided is going to be left up to states to decide with regards to reproductive rights on there. So, there's a whole lot that's on the ballot. A lot of it, don't think just because it is state focused that it is any less important than a Senate race or a presidential race, because frankly, those state officials really do affect a whole lot that goes on with it. So that's kind of the midterm pitch that I would give on why it's important. And just to remember, because I'm doing my job on it, the bottom of the ballot is our City of Houston bond initiative. So like Desmond was saying, we have bonds for public safety, parks, animal care, public health, city administration facilities, libraries, and solid waste. So that's a big deal. I mean, even if you just care on the solid waste side of it, we're one of the only big cities in America that doesn't have a solid waste fee. We just provide that as part of our services with it. One of the things we want to try and do is a big priority for Mayor Turner is recycling. That costs money. And so being able to put some of the bond issues for our solid waste facilities will allow us to be able to use some of that capital to improve programs that you may really end up caring about, even though you didn't think about it when you walked into that voting booth. It's on the ballot. So.
No, I concur with everything Bill just said.
And just to let y'all know, as an intern with iRadio, I'm working on a broadcast called Adulting 101, where every week I touch on a skill that can hopefully enlighten myself and students. And I'm so excited to remember the points from our conversation today to bring up in the civic skills broadcast that we'll be covering Because one thing that I think about for those that are listening and tuning into our live and they're like, wow, I'm actually inspired now. I actually do want to vote. Didn't think I wanted to. One of the things they're thinking is, where do I start? What do I Google? What do I do? And bringing up what you had mentioned earlier, looking up who your representative is. How would a student go about getting those facts and that real information, especially online, considering all this scams and the things that are happening online?
That's a great question. I just did it yesterday because our ballot really is so long. I mean,
It's a lot of issues.
Harris County does a great deal. If you just put it into any search engine, I always say Google, but everybody just put it in your search engine. Harris County sample ballot. And then what you can do is just put in your legal first name, middle name, last name, press enter, and it'll bring up everything that's going to be on your individualized ballot, right? So that way you don't have to worry, like if there's a congressional race and you're not in the district, you know, hey, that's not going to be on your ballot, right? You can literally get, mine was 7 pages long on the deal. So my wife and I are going to sit down and she's going to tell me how to vote. We'll go down and look at all the different candidates and try and do our little research at home on it. But being able to just put in Harris County sample ballot, all you have to do is put in your name and then it will pull up exactly what will be on your ballot. So it's easy to kind of do the research in advance.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the geographical aspect of it, because if there's a surprising amount of individuals who may not know their zip code, who may not know that we're in Harris County and not in other kind of counties. So having that basic foundation of knowing where you are literally can help with when deciding what to research and what to research on the.
And you bring up a great point on it, that one of the things we haven't said, these early voting sites, what's super, and it used to just be early voting sites, now it's every voting site, but every early voting site in Harris County, as long as you live in Harris County, you can vote anywhere. That's a big deal. And even on election day, for those, when you have the individual neighborhood precinct polling locations, you can vote at any one. That was a change from when I used to work in electoral politics back in the 2000 when I had a lot of hair on the deal. That was a big change, because back then on election day, you had to vote in your neighborhood specific one, and if not, your vote, you know, they're not going to let you. Yeah, and so being able to have the accessibility of a lot of these early voting locations, where as long as you're in Harris County, you can vote anywhere, and that's actually the same. Because when you look at that Harris County Fort Bend line, some of those neighborhoods actually get bisected, right? If you're in Fort Bend County, anywhere in Fort Bend, you can vote early at any of the early vote sites there. So folks shouldn't feel intimidated if you don't know where to go with it. In Harris County, that made it really pretty easy to do, and so have our friends in Fort Bend.
And I'm looking forward to when the actual voting day starts. When people tell me to vote, I'll be like, I early voted. I want to make that a thing on social media. I early voted.
There you go.
And speaking and going back to the early voting challenge, my last question about that was, where do you think the mayor's office is looking to expand? Like right now, we have 3 campuses, right? That's part of the early voting challenge. What do you think the future of the early voting challenge will look like for more campuses, like extending to say like HCC or something like that? What do you think?
Go ahead. Well, I was definitely going to say this. As long as there's a polling place on that location within the city of Houston and it's a campus, I do believe Mayor Turner would support this program expanding to it. You know, I think it's a little easier geographically to focus on U of H downtown, and TSU, or when Rice was in it 2 years ago, just because of where they're located. But like I said, I do believe if there is an opportunity and the schools express interest, we'll be there.
And I think one of the things too, and I can say this because Mayor Turner will not be on the ballot. He is term limited in 2023, but that'll be a mayor's race. And the first time that we had any early vote sites on college campuses was his re-election campaign in 2019. That was the first time we had early vote sites at any of those campuses that we mentioned. It was just 2019. We've come a long way on a lot of things with it. So, you know, but again, you got to fight for it. Right. One of the things I want to, when you talk about kind of empowering folks and like where we've come from with it, when you're on your ballot, and it won't be on this ballot, it'll be on the next one, but there's a position called the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector and Voter Register. Now, did anybody think like, why do they have the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector combined with Voter Register on the ballot? The reason is that office collected poll taxes. that's how the system was set up, right? So in 65, we have the Voting Rights Act that abolished the poll tax. One of the first states that it abolished it from was the state of Texas. So when you talk about these systems and how access really works, we've come a long way on it, but we have to make sure that we participate and show that it's needed and wanted to make sure that we can keep it on there. So.
And would you say that access combined with education and spreading awareness can be a lot more effective than, say, people might be aware they have the access but don't understand how special it is to have it?
I think knowing the history on it will really get folks going. I know we did a dedication that's right down the way of the new LBJ Park here in Houston, and the date that we did it was in was it August, September? I can't remember exactly, but we did it on the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act being signed. And so, and in fact, Lucy Baines Johnson spoke at the event, and it was just, when you really talk about those moments in history where the tide turns on it, being able to see the Voting Rights Act signed and Lucy Baines Johnson there to dedicate a park in her dad's honor in Houston, that was really pretty cool.
That's a hallmark moment.
Yeah, absolutely. yeah, very much so, very much so.
And I just want to add, just to make that even more sweet, I think it was last week, Bill and I were on a call with Lucy Baines Johnson, talking about all things voting and what have you. And Bill announced this challenge between U of H Downtown, and Texas Southern. And literally out of her mouth, right after Bill made the announcement about it, she said, "This is great. Like, I am so excited about this." So when you think about her dad, who was the one that authored and signed into law the Voting Rights Act in 1965, for his daughter to hear about this challenge that U of H Downtown is now a participant in, I think it just comes full circle.
I was going to say that is full circle, definitely. And making another geographic connection too, here where UHD is and where the line is, we have two HCC campuses on both sides. We've got North Line over here, and then we've got Central over here. And just imagining like the student population at Central is big at both North Line and Central, and seeing how that could work in the future, especially since so many students come from HCC, they transfer to UHD in those respective institutions. So
it's good to put it right in the middle.
Well, those were all of my questions. Was there any additional comments or anything extra, Dr. Logan, or anything that you wanted to?
No. In fact, the only thing I would do is just plug the station and say that registration is open. And if you're liking what you hear and you hear about the opportunities and the career opportunities that you can get from just being on the radio and networking and those kinds of things, go to uhg.edu/iRadio and apply to be part of the station. And we'd probably be more than happy to have you.
And I'll say this too, when you talk about, Lucy Baines Johnson literally was just like, as Desmond said, I'm really glad you remember that deal. But when we had Lin-Manuel Miranda coming to town at the University of Houston to be able to announce a challenge, the mayor said, "I want to announce this year's challenge with Lin-Manuel there." And so he was asking questions about it. And he was like, "So when does early voting start?" We were like, "October the 24th. When are the polls open?" 7 a.m., 7 p.m. He got it down with that. And the mayor wanted to be able to say, this is what we're doing to encourage young people to be able to vote. And I think it really carried a big resonance with him on there. So know that there are a lot of people watching. And man, it'd be, look, I'm a U of H Cougar on the deal, but 32 votes is not a safe lead. I will tell you that. Ask Huber vote. 32 votes is not a safe lead on this deal, man. So really appreciate you having us today, though.
Absolutely. And I literally just wanted to say that same thing. Thank you for this opportunity to allow us to even speak about the challenge. I think even this opportunity being, the walk was really good and seeing the excitement amongst the students, but just now having this opportunity to talk to people that may be watching or listening and allowing them to have a space to hear about this challenge. I just really want to thank U of H Downtown for that.
Go vote, Gators. Please, go vote.
The 32 votes is extremely significant comparing like sizes of the campus and everything. And it says a lot about our students, and to win this, I think would be a very big own on the main campus. So yeah, I encourage everyone to go out and early vote, and to be maybe a little bit more candid than you guys are allowed to be. These midterm elections, for anyone that feels disenfranchised about like national elections or politics and even state politics, this is your chance to fix the potholes, to get the judges to deal with bail bonds, all of these kinds of things that may be very important to you personally. This is your opportunity to do that in a way that, maybe you feel disenfranchised, casting a vote for the president or something like that. This is where you can make immediate change in your immediate life.
Absolutely. And just to give the stats, we got U of H with 798 votes, early votes. This is through yesterday. UH downtown, 766. Right on the tail. And then TSU, they got a big event coming up, so they're only at 218 right now. But 32 votes. 32 votes. Well, and every day the mayor will tweet out an update after we go through and get it from the Harris County elections folks on Twitter about where those stats go. So definitely encourage folks to watch that as well.
Absolutely. You can find them on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter if you guys want to keep up to date on that.